Big progress? I don't know.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
There are a ton of cliches that you can use. One might be the proof's in the pudding. It's all about the execution, yada, 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 yada. But I think they all hold true when it comes to the takeover of the Providence schools by the state of Rhode Island. Good evening. Great to have you in. Thanks very much for tuning in. Dan McGowan is a guy I trust implicitly, journalistically. He writes for the Boston Globe, formerly of WPRI.com. Months from now, I won't say formerly, but you got to keep the connectivity until the Globe Online has reached its high water mark in market stature. In the meantime, I'm talking about here, of course, in Rhode Island. In the meantime, let me just check in real quick with a headline on what was the national story of the day, and it was compelling. And if anybody's going to tell you that it was same old, and that it was a waste of time, they are biased to a fault. This was riveting. Our own Congressman David Cicilline sits on the House Judiciary Committee and had his piece of the action with the special counsel.
Mr. Mueller, in your report, you in fact write at page 97, substantial evidence indicates that the president's effort to have Sessions limit the scope of the special counsel's investigation to future elections interference was intended to prevent further investigative scrutiny of the president and his campaign conduct. Is that correct?
Generally.
And so, Mr. Mueller, you have seen a letter where 1,000 former Republican and Democratic federal prosecutors have read your report and said anyone but the president who committed those acts would be charged with obstruction of justice. Do you agree with those former colleagues, 1,000 prosecutors who came to that conclusion?
Those prosecutors.
And, you know, I'll tell you, the time marks were, the time marks, I don't know, where am I? Can I stay on this camera, please, for just a second? Hi, Dan. Nice to see you. You'll be introduced in just a second. The time marks on this particular committee session were disciplined. They really came to that. And I will tell you, the Democrats, for the most part, got to questions first, and then they would summarize. The Republicans, I will tell you, in defending the president and trying to make this whole thing a witch hunt scenario, I thought in many ways just lost their minds. I think most fair-minded Americans are looking at this saying, this guy Mueller's credible, this guy Mueller's serious, this guy Mueller's got an investigation that had some merit, this guy Mueller wouldn't have been chasing tilting at windmills. And I don't know. I guess it's going to have to do with how much saturation did this hearing have in terms of the political momentum that's required for political justice that the Democrats seem to think is necessary. That's impeachment. So we'll see. All right. In the meantime, now we can cut and introduce Dan to the fine audience here.
Good to see you again.
Did you see the Mueller report?
I watched a little bit of it.
Watch a little bit of it? Did you have a take?
I got no take.
You got no take.
I'm not that smart.
It's not good.
I let you do it.
No, I'll tell you, it's interesting.
It was compelling, no question about it.
Compelling, no doubt. And I'll tell you the idea that 97% of Americans probably never even opened up the report. So do 90% of Americans have a glimpse of what this day was all about? I don't know.
Probably not, right?
Well, I'll tell you though, the amount of television across the board today.
And radio, oh my God, everywhere.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you're taking care of things at home and watching the stories at home, and we're going to talk about the Providence schools here. Here is the headline that rules the day, and here's the Target 12 Eyewitness News report on it last night.
Aye. Motion passed.
Rhode Island's Education Commissioner another step closer to taking control of Providence Public Schools after a vote by the state's Council on Elementary and Secondary Education Tuesday night.
I'm very excited. I feel like we just witnessed history. And now I feel nervous because it's got to get done.
Education Commissioner Angelica Infante Green says once the state has control of the district, it can intervene in the budget, programs, and personnel because of a 1997 law called the Crowley Act. Infante Green tells us her job will be to reimagine what Providence schools look like, to get rid of any overlapping bureaucracy, and to create higher standards.
Doesn't have to look the way it does today. Clearly what we have today has not worked.
This push for state intervention comes in the wake of a scathing Johns Hopkins report on Providence schools, labeling them among the worst in the nation. After that report, 9 public forums were held. The commissioner says 1,100 people attended, sharing comments like this.
We don't even let animals live in the conditions that are present in our schools. Have you ever had to sit in a room and work when all you can smell is the odor of a dead rat somewhere? I have.
Infante Green says she's still developing plans for the district. But while she waits for the state to officially take over, several initiatives will be put in place for the start of the school year, targeted at changing school culture, tracking absenteeism, and creating a cell phone policy.
So what you will see in the next few months is benchmarks that we all need to meet, short term and long term. The scores will change with time. That's not something that you're going to see an immediate shift. However, you're going to start seeing a shift in all the other things that lead to better outcomes and a better school environment.
Big project.
This is a lot.
It's a lot. It's really a lot. And I give her credit for bringing the energy that she's brought so far. I mean, she really is the commissioner of education in the state. She's the super of the city of Providence right now. And one of her biggest challenges is going to be to hire somebody who can take that on a day in, day out basis, right?
That's right. She quickly needs to pivot away from being the Providence overseer. Remember, you know this. You're getting calls on the radio all the time. I'm hearing all the time. Isn't she the superintendent? They're the commissioner for the entire state. And so what she needs to do in the next 90 days as she kind of crafts out this plan for whatever the long-term vision is going to look like, and she hires a superintendent, I think she's probably going to very quickly try to, get to the suburbs a little bit, try to focus on some of the bigger picture things. Remember, test scores are going to come out, a month or 2 from now, and they're not going to look good for anybody, just like last year. And so we're going to have the same conversation statewide.
Yeah, it's really funny that you say that, because as you're saying that, first of all, I don't hear a lot of that on the radio, maybe on other radio shows. I think people are very hyper-focused on the city of Providence and what this report means. And, I have to admit, I've done some speech making on this in terms of how I think this thing should go. And I'm not sure I think it's being listened to on some levels, but whatever. It's going to be interesting. The equation is right now that she's going to hire a superintendent for Providence. Yeah. At some juncture, if she can't hire the right person, she may have to hire somebody who's really taking care of the rest of the state while she hyper-focuses permanently, or at least for a 2 or 3 year period of time, on the city of Providence. That's going to be a dynamic of who's available,
right,
who she can get in there, and who wants to take on this daunting task and be responsible for it, when really this void of leadership in the city, with the outgoing superintendent leaving and an interim being hired, this void is beginning to brand her as the Providence woman.
Absolutely. I think if you were to poll the state, people might actually think she's the superintendent of Providence schools in some ways. I do think she's going to find somebody, I would presume from the outside, not necessarily an internal person, to take over the Providence School District. And one thing to remember, despite all of what we hear about how difficult it is to be the superintendent in Providence, that's all true. It's an attractive job. It really is. I've written about this before. You and I are sports fans. It's like being, it's not the being Duke basketball coach, but it's a big job, right? You're a real player. You're, top 100 in terms of size of a district in the country. There's real reform. There's real momentum around it right now. And so I think that she's not going to have a problem with finding the person. The question is she's the one that's now built up all that credibility. That person that's going to come in is going to have to do the same thing. If they falter, if they trip up, if they get into some of the fights that are probably going to happen as this plays out, it's going to be much more difficult to actually get it done.
Well, here's the thing. The interesting thing about this is that she's going to have to hire somebody who has as much a persona as she does.
Right. It's that president, vice president thing, right? I think that's
this is, and I'm not saying that she's stepped in it. I'm just saying that the way this thing has gone so far, dictated more by the administration than by her because she's new to the system and the politics of Rhode Island. She is in a place now that she may not be able to unentrench herself from.
Right. Yeah, it's a really good point. It's a difficult task for her. She's going to have to, I think that's another reason she'll bring somebody in from the outside that might not have, any baggage either way on this, so you can come in, because you're right. I mean, I think it becomes, if you have someone who's just kind of making sure the trains run on time, so to speak, people like us are going to be going always back to the commissioner and asking her what's happening, and she does not want that, I think, in the long term. If the superintendent's going to succeed.
Yeah, well, you know what? We just fell into an interesting conversation. What she wants and what she has to do might be two very different things.
Oh, I completely agree. You're right.
We come back, we'll talk about the system of takeover, which is not very strong. Stay with us. So we have this thing called the Crowley Act, and it is the basis for the school takeover, untested.
Right.
Statutorily passed back when Massachusetts was really moving in. Then Representative Crowley, Newport, God rest him, was a big education guy. Right. And he pushed and pushed and pushed for this. When schools aren't performing, we need to be able to come on in. I don't think much in the way the founding fathers probably never thought we'd have a presidency like this and a constitutional crisis of sorts like we have. I don't think even Crowley understood what kind of immense problem it would be to take over the Providence City schools.
Yeah,
right.
There's no question.
The thing is kind of made for a little district that's underperforming.
Or even more, it's actually really designed. If you look at some of the regulations that were crafted around it, specific schools, right? The ability to say, boy, Hope High School is really faltering. We got to get in there.
And they went in there and made a little bit of a turnaround and then stopped.
And then it all falls back. This was not, whether it was designed or not. I mean, there's a debate to be had about this, but it does not appear as though. I mean, there's a reason why in the regulations, every page, every reference is about schools, not districts. I don't think anybody envisioned this type of thing happening with the Providence School District.
Which is why, from the get-go, I have been suggesting that if the governor really wanted to lead on this, that she would have called for a special session of the General Assembly to quick write emergency legislation that would allow for this commissioner to extract Providence City government as much as she pleases, either 0% or 100%, and take over this joint.
Yeah.
Because this process, by the way, okay, so she's got the vote. All right, now 2 weeks from now, she's going to be more detailed on her plan.
Yep.
Then the clock ticks on a 30-day period where the stakeholders in Providence can protest.
Yep, and that's the mayor, the school board, the city council, and the superintendent. So any one of those parties could make an issue out of this.
In your great work today, you write the following. Infante Green's intervention has the support of Providence Mayor Jorge Alorza and City Council President Sabina Matos, as well as School Board President Nicholas Heeman. Says who?
So they've all said to me they all support some version of this. Right. Not the exact
Not
thing.
here to
That's
critique
right.
your work, but
Right.
my point is, says who based on what?
Right. It's a fair question based on what plan.
When she finally comes in and says bang, 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 you really think this mayor, and I'm starting to learn this school committee chairman, who kind of played me here when he was on the show earlier this week, doing the bidding of the mayor, kind of incognito, you really think that they're a slam dunk, yes ma'am, I'll get out of the way?
I do think that they are mostly a slam dunk. I do. I think that they're already having these negotiations. I think the question's the city council. I think this.
What negotiations?
The district is meeting with the state, meaning the commissioner. I say the district, the mayor's office, and they are kind of hammering out what this is going to look like right now.
Hammering out?
Right.
In their comfort zone.
Sure, yeah.
I'm suggesting the reform requires, thank you for your service.
See you later.
Get out of the way.
Right.
We'll let you know what we need from you.
Right.
Now, we need to maintain the administration of sorts.
Right.
You know, they got to make the trains run on time, the schools open. It doesn't mean, but the hierarchy of government has got to go. And this is why I think that we've over-reported in general this takeover thing, because it's the best takeover that the system is maybe
That it
built
allows,
for.
sure.
But it's not certain that we really are going to have a takeover of sorts.
That's true. I mean, look, this, because it's untested, I think the path that the commissioner is going down is one that is to say, I'm going to reach agreements here rather than trying to settle this out in court. That's the goal that she seems to have.
So if you put a law in place on an emergency basis that preempted any litigation,
Oh, you could definitely.
if the state government put a law together that says, here's the Crowley Act on steroids, specially designed
Right.
for this particular emergency, I just don't understand this concept that something which seems to be an out-of-the-box horror show, meaning the performance and the status and the squalor of the Providence school system,
Right.
is remedied by something that's already
That
presented
exists.
in a box.
Right. I think you're not wrong about this at all. What they could do, the state could literally go and look at Massachusetts, copy and paste their receivership policy, put it right into law. You could do that. There's no question.
Why hasn't it happened?
I don't know. I'm not elected. What do you
I
want me
get
to
it,
do?
but this is just well, maybe you should run.
Maybe I should.
No,
I
but
don't know.
it's a rhetorical question. It's this governor's pattern of citing a problem at warp speed and running at a lesser speed.
I think that's fair, although here's the catch, though. If you talk to folks behind the scenes, I know you do, and at the state level, they believe they have all of the same authority that Massachusetts has with its receivership law. And so what they're saying is, we think we've got all of that, we can't prove it necessarily, and we really don't want to test it in court.
Well, you've got to be an ignoramus to say that.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Well, did Lowell get a chance in a 30-day period to say, I don't like this?
No, but they negotiate, or Lawrence, I believe was.
Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence. What they did was they gave somebody complete power, and that person came in and negotiated. They did not actually take any unilateral steps.
Well,
they
negotiated with unions,
Right.
negotiated with, but I'm just talking about the mayor and the school board and the
Right.
city council. Get them out of the way. I'm not suggesting that you just come in and
Blow everything up,
blow
right.
everything up.
Right.
I mean, well, speaking of that, I think it's interesting that you note that Mary Beth Calabro, the president of the teachers union, said her members want to work with the state during the takeover process, but warned that we're looking forward to being at the table rather than on the menu. I don't know who gave her that line.
Good line.
Good line.
Yeah.
Really good line. I think she's a little bit too defensive right now for her union's well-being. I mean, she's got a constituent she's got to
Right.
defend, and all these stories of bad teaching obviously have hurt their ego.
Right.
Yet I think the way you get this teacher union on is you clean up these schools in the squalor. And that kid talking about smelling rats
Right.
defies what I've been told this week, which is that that's largely anecdotal and there ain't no rats.
Right, right. And I know that's the argument that the school board president made to you and has made to me too, that a lot of this is, they cherry-picked really extreme examples in that report. There are so many
The
extreme...
place has buildings that are worse than sewers.
Right, right.
And when we come back, we'll talk about where the triage plan is. It won't be a long segment because there isn't one. Stay with us.
What came back to me was most of them in that report were anecdotal reports. And I will tell you that much of the Johns Hopkins report is anecdotal stuff. So I've asked specifically on the report of asbestos falling on. It is not true. It is not happening. I asked specifically about the raw sewage, which was at a school where the kitchen was above the classroom and the dishwasher was leaking, and it was not sewage. It was just the usual problems that we have of water leaking in schools. I don't say any of that to make excuses for this. The schools are in a deplorable nature.
Let me see if I'm hearing this clearly. You're telling me that which I perceive, and no doubt have been banging the drum on here for the last few weeks, is a false narrative?
They are either old allegations, or they are allegations that, for instance, was the roof leaking? Yes. Was it raw sewage? I'm told no.
If this mayor or this school committee chair wanted to respond, whether it was anecdotal alarm or widespread reality in the system, to the idea that these schools are basically uninhabitable come September, they would have put a triage plan together that was transparent, full, and funded, or asked state government for help, since there was the flavor of state intervention anyway.
Right.
Seen a triage plan?
No.
At all whatsoever?
None. Zero.
I mean, you know what? Fool me once, shame on I don't know who.
Right.
But when he sits there, and I realize now with some of the more anecdotes I get and the daily pictures of rats or mice, as the case may be, at Hope High School, you know,
Right.
over the summer, and the stories that teachers are telling about what they live in, the squalor they live in every day. This is yet another reason why this commissioner, I think, has got to be able to extract these guys from the table, because I don't think they're operating in good faith.
No, you know what's interesting is they're also, they operate inside, and I covered the city for a long time, right? So they all kind of operate inside of this bubble of how bad is the problem right in front of me, and if it is going to harm people, okay, we have to take care of it, but everything else can be fixed or pushed aside. This is how this city has operated for a really long time, and I think that's what you're seeing when folks talk about, oh, these are isolated incidents, or oh, you know, I checked, it's not that bad. It's because it's because people are told you have, let's say, $3 million every year to fix up the schools, and if you go outside of that $3 million, you're not doing anything. So they find $3 million of problems and they push the rest aside. It's what they've done for years and years and years. It's clear what's happened there too.
So that's a failure, and another reason why the state should extract them from the process, not include them just to keep them quiet
Right.
and happy. The interim superintendent, Fran Gallo, good resume, good egg.
Excellent, yeah.
Why she has the energy for this is a question for me.
God bless her.
Hopefully, Fran, come see me. We'll be in touch. Her role?
I mean, I think they think she's gonna make sure the trains run on time to start the year.
That's not the kind of person she is.
No, it's not her nature. It shows you, you know, the district wanted to at least say, look, we can put up a reformer, so to speak, to you know, run the district. But
Cagey move. I don't know why she bid.
yeah, you'd think she
Was
might.
she recruited or did she apply?
I believe she was recruited. I believe
Right.
Mr.
So
Heyman has said she's recruited.
I don't know why she bit. Maybe because she knows how foolish they are and how effective she has been. Maybe she wins over the commissioner.
She could.
Does she end up being the full-time superintendent the commissioner's looking for?
Commissioner said to me
That would be
yesterday.
ironic.
It would be very. The commissioner told me she wants to hire her own person yesterday, but you're right. It's entirely possible that Dr. Gallo could become her own person.
Say,
So
guys, thank you for your help on that.
that would be fascinating.
Now get the hell out of the way.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. By the way, that's one way to kind of
Bridge the gap.
bridge the gap. So that's not a terrible
We
idea.
might tap her, and you guys are out. And
Right.
we're going to pass legislation to make sure you don't stick your nose back in.
You and I could figure this out.
You know what? Final word when we come back. Usually I wrap up on my own, but Dan, the mayor left the presentation of the PowerPoint of the commissioner last night. We had 10 seconds. What's your take on that?
Oh, yeah, it was another terrible look. It was similar to going to Hawaii. It just as even if it's innocent, not a great look.
Although the commissioner might think, keep leaving. Go to the bar and have your pretzel. See ya.